How's it going, everybody? This is Awais back with another video on the channel. In this video, we're going to take a look at some more UI components available in IONIC 4. So the first component that I want to show you is alert. Alert are great ways to offer the user the ability to choose a specific action or list of actions. Alert can include text input, buttons. They can provide the user with important information or require them to make a decision. So what is an alert? Alert is a dialog that presents users with information or collects information from the user using inputs. An alert appears on the top of your app content and must be manually dismissed by the user before they can resume interaction with the app. It can also optionally have headers, subheaders, and messages. Also, you can add buttons, you can have inputs, you can do a lot more stuff in alerts, but they're not recommended if you have some sort of functionality that you want to perform. So basically, if you need a sign-up form and it's got a lot of information, I will recommend you guys use a model instead of alert. We'll take a look at what is a model later in the course. So let's get started with creating an alert. Let's go to home.page.ts file, and here you can see I have imported alert controller. And also I've injected that into a constructing function so we could use that in our class. So now let's get started with creating a simple alert. I'm going to start with defining async function, which I'll call it present alert. And then we create a constant. So I'll just do a const and I'll say this is an alert that I'm creating, and then I'll do await this dot alert. Actually, I forgot to change the name of this action sheet to alert controller. So alert controller. I was using the same file in the last video, so this is why I had that. So this dot alert controller dot create, we pass in an object, and that's going to take a header, which will pass in alert. And then another value, you can take a subheader as well. So do sub alert. I'm going to put that into single quotes. So sub alert. Now we can say what is the message of that alert. So we'll do message, and then inside that I'll say, hey, this is the alert message. And then also we're going to put that comma there, and then we can have a button. So I'll do buttons, and then that should take a button, okay. And then we can simply go and present it. So just await alert dot present. Okay, I'm going to save the file. And let's go and wait for it to compile. So it's compiled now. I'm going to click here. That should present an alert. So it's not. So we're going to go back to home.page and then we type in click event, which will take present alert, save it, wait for it to compile the project. And then when you click on it, you should be able to see alert. So here we have alert, subheading, and a message and a button, which will dismiss the alert. All right, let's go to IONIC documentation, and here I'm going to take you to alert, and let's click on API, which will tell us what's available for us to use from alert. So here you can see we have buttons, we have inputs, we have the usage and code snippet as well that you can use. So here you can see we have a simple alert which we just created. We have a long message alert, that's what we can create. Multiple button, cancel, open model, delete, so you can perform an action depending on what you want to do. So let's take a look at that. So here I would like to go and create an action sheet when I click on present alert. So let's go back, and here we want to go, and I'm just gonna make it a bit smaller so we can see it. First of all, let me just import action sheet controller. That would be from Angular, and then I'm just gonna inject that as well. So I'll just do private action sheet controller. That's fine. So now here I'm going to do a handler for a button. I'm going to remove OK. Instead of passing a string, we pass in an object now. Here we define a text, and I'll say cancel. Role would be cancel as well. That goes into string. And then here we do handler, and I'm gonna pass in an event here. So not an event, basically a function when you get clicked. So what do you want to do? So we do console.log and I say you clicked me. So you clicked me. Okay, so now I can pass in another button. So we can have a multiple button here. So we just do a comma, and then I'm going to pass in text. Okay. And then we don't define a role now. We just simply say, let's just do CSS class. We can do secondary. And then we can pass in another handler. So do a handler. Then we do. Okay, so here what I want to do, I'll do console.log. I say the second handler. Alright, and I'm going to save the project. There's an error. It's basically a TS-lin error, not an actual coding error. So let's go and take a look at what happens when we have this. So here we have action button, action alert, and action alert. I can see OK button and then cancel button. Now I'm going to add another button here, guys, and I'm just going to name it open model. So let's just do action sheet, not a model, action sheet, right? And then I'm just gonna make it, let's just say primary. Alright, so I've removed console log. So here in handler, we want to start with typing async, and then we'll do an error function here. And then inside this, we are going to create an action sheet. So here you can see I've already imported action sheet controller and injected that in a constructor as well. So let's go down, and here we want to start writing our action sheet. So here I'll just create a const, and I'll do action is equal to, then we'll do await this dot action sheet dot create, and that also takes an object and takes some properties that can be used. So we'll do some sort of header. Also we'll define some buttons here as well. So I'm gonna do header, and I'll just say testing action. Then also we can define a role as well. But let's not define a role, let's define an icon, and let's do trash. And then we can also define a handler to this. So that's not gonna go there, so we need to define a button, guys. So as I've shown you how you can do it, so let's just do a button here, and then the first button text is going to be text, and then we'll do role. We can define a role to cancel. Then we have handler again, and then inside the handler we use arrow function syntax, and we do console.log a hello. Okay, I'm gonna save the project, and now we should see an action sheet. But before we can see that, we need to present that. So here I'll find this action sheet, and I'll find this this curly brace, and after this we want to do await this dot action dot present. Okay, now while we're here, so we don't need this, we just simply use await action dot present, and that's pretty much it. So we're just gonna decrease the text size, and let's take a look at. So we click on this, we get an action. I'm gonna click on open action sheet, click on this, and you see the action sheet as well. So that's cool, isn't it? So you can define alert or you can define action sheet, and you can perform any kind of action while a user clicking on that. So that's really cool. Now I'm going to take you some of the documentation of IONIC, and let's take a look at some of the things that we need to know about this documentation, how to use this documentation, and how you can improve your knowledge of IONIC and improve your workflow plus creativity plus productivity using these documentation. So now you can see we have a lot more options here. We can create these kind of alerts. So here we have a long message alert, we have a multiple button alert which we created, alert no message, we have a confirm and cancel button. Also, we have some sort of a form that can take data from user and perform an action on OK or dismiss the alert on cancel. So let's take a look at, we have creating. So this is how you create a alert using alert controller. Then we can define the buttons. We can define inputs using inputs. This is a code snippet that you can use. All the way down, we can see we have a properties. Now the properties are basically a value that you can use to do some stuff. For example, here it says animated. So it says if true, alert will animate, and it's default to true. So if I click on this, and then you see the animation happening. So click here, you see that animation. So if I go and right on the top, I can say I don't want to I don't want it to animate. So I'll change the value animated to false, and I save the project, and I see if I click on that, no more animation should happen. So here I click, it pops up straight away. So there's no animation happening now. So you can see, you can read about these properties and customize your alerts, or you can customize any other UI component. So every time you want to use a button, an action sheet, alert, or card title, anything, the documentation of that technology is the best place to enhance your knowledge. So here we have a backdrop. I'm just going to copy that. Let's go back, and then here we define, let's just say backdrop dismiss. Is this the right key? So here it says backdrop dash dismiss. So we will do, actually let's not do that, we do something else here. Okay, backdrop. So if true, the alert will dismiss when the backdrop is clicked. Defaults to true. It's already true. We want to find overlay. That's gonna be basically it's gonna make the background a bit darker, so you can see the overlay there. Now these are all the properties that you can use to customize your alert. Also, if I will show you guys a few other things. So for example, here we have ion button. So if you want to use a button in your application, you can simply use this ion button. So let's take a look at how we can use that. Here we have a code snippet. So here I'll use ion button with the color primary. Or let me just do success. Let's copy this, and then here we have some issues here, so I'm just going to remove this. Let's save the project, and let's close some files here. We go to home.page.html file, and here I want to use ion button with color success. I'll save the project, and you'll see our server restarts automatically and compiles our app and shows us this success button. Right now this button doesn't do anything. Let's take a look how we can improve this. Here we have a button type. We can define that as a button or bar. The color property we've already used here, and then we define its value success. This is how we can see this color success there. All the way down we have all the options. For example, we have the size. If you want to make your button larger or small, then you can define that. So here if I say size, which is a property, and I say large, and I press Command S to save the project, and it will recompile it, and we'll see the change. So here we have a larger button now, so you can use this documentation and then improve your knowledge about IONIC. So yeah, that's about it for this button. Or maybe last thing, we look at shape. You might like the shape. So here we have a property shape, and then that can only take this property. The possible values are round. Let's give it a round, and let's save it. And let's see if we get something different. So yeah, we have the round value there. So similar to this, we have badges. We can use this HTML. Also, all the time, please go inside API, which will give you a list of properties you can use for that UI component. You can look at what are the methods you can call on that. For example, we will do some method. So I'll go to alert, and we go all the way down. After the properties, we have events, which we'll talk about later. So here we can call the methods as well. We have these methods like dismiss, or we have this on, will dismiss. Basically, you can read that this is what's going to happen when you apply this to a button or any which can act upon it. This will dismiss the alert overlay. Some of the important UI components we will talk during this series, but that's about it, guys, for this video, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.